Hi, my love. Welcome back to the podcast. It's been a little while, and I just wanted to do a quick update. Today's episode is just gonna be mostly like checking in, and just like a very simple but extremely important message. I know that a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, I've already started talking about welcome to the year of the fire horse. Fire horse. Well, we're pretty much deep in, and I remember I even made an episode about how we need to learn to ride the fire horse this year, and it wasn't going to be easy. I'm going to be the first one to go. I'm going to raise my hand and say that, wow, I got kicked out. You know, like when in the movies when they show you like the horse just like stands up and then you just like the person, the rider just falls off the horse. Well, that was me for the last 2 weeks. Totally got kicked out of the horse kicked me out. I don't know how to say it, how to explain it, but it's I was totally on the ground and just on the ground. So honestly, in the past couple of weeks, in this podcast, I usually don't like to make things all about me. It's really not about, it's not a place where I come to ramble about me, because I personally don't like when podcasts are like that. So I always try to make my episodes very objective. So what I often end up doing is using experiences that I go through and then, remove kind of extract lessons or deep thoughts or things like that, because what we don't understand is that there is always like a general energy in the air. So whenever you're going through something, it's often we tend to think that we're the only one going through them, but breaking news, we're not. And it's very important. I think that's why it's very important for us to share, for us to express ourselves, because our mind, that negative voice inside of you, that little voice that sometimes can get really loud if you don't keep a check on it, if you don't keep it in check, and it will try to convince you, to make you believe that you're the only one going through things and what's wrong with you, why can't you get your life together, and all of that, talk that we kind of all go through at some level, to a different level, to a different extent, but we all go through it because it's part of the human nature. So might be like, Steph, what happened? Why did you disappear? Honestly, I feel like I've gotten quite decent at life's challenges, in a way, as in, just sitting in the uncomfortable and just riding the waves. And it's fascinating, just every time I think, okay, I got this figured out, which is kind of arrogant in a way, and very, 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 we shouldn't think that we have it figured out, because life is always gonna throw, things at you, just when you think, okay, all right, this is the routine now. I got this. I know how to handle that. I can, it's been so much. If you even go through my podcast from the beginning of the podcast, you'd see there was my big surgery, and then there was like a long breakup after like a long relationship for like 15 years, and then it's been a lot of things. It was like recovery. It was a lot of things back to back, and then my grandmother's funeral, and then I'm thinking, all right, we got this. It's okay. I'm getting okay at. But then for my birthday, I wanted to. I think I spoke about that in the last episode a little bit. I touched base on it. I went to Israel because as a Kabbalah student, there was a special cosmic opening, and I wanted to spend it with community. And Israel was just the closest. There's a few centers around the world, but Israel was just the closest to where I was. And I ended up going. I'm thinking, okay, well, what's the worst that can happen? I'm just going to go there. And also the cosmic opening, what many people call holidays, but they're actually cosmic openings, and they're not just, anyways, we can talk about that in another episode. But for now, I just want to keep things very short. And I ended up going there thinking I'm just gonna go there. Plus, the opening felt exactly, around a very meaningful time in my life. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go there and spend time with community for like less than a week. What's the worst that can happen? And then I fly back home. Well, you know what they say, us humans, we make plan and God laughs. It's just absolutely, this is the best example. I had planned a perfect little week, where I had scheduled some dance classes. I scheduled pole. I really like pole. So I scheduled some pole fitness class. I scheduled some, acrobatic class. I'm a bit of a fitness junkie. I scheduled some jujitsu. I was supposed to go surfing, all of the stuff, everything. It was a perfectly planned week. Well, this shows us how it's, of course, we need to plan because it's part of life. This is kind of like the duality of life where, again, we're asked to walk two lines at the same time. It's not easy, but that's just life. So many things are paradoxes, and that's just the essence of life, honestly, right? And we need to kind of always learn to walk in the middle. That balance line doesn't mean perfect, but it just means like just balancing both sides at the same time. So what I'm trying to say is that the thing is, yes, we can't get too attached to the plans we make, and we can't just think like we are the captain of the ship for real, because we're not. The light is, the divine is, however you refer to it, whichever term you prefer. But it's just a reminder whenever we things don't go as planned that we're not the master of our time. Yes, we do have free will, but we're not the master of this world. So at the same time, we also need to strive to find a way to do life. Of course, we need to plan things because we need to get things done. That's just what we came here to do in this, in this plane, in this reality, and this illusion, in this matrix. However, we also need to remember that, yeah, okay, we're playing make believe, we're playing like house in a way. So we need to do the stuff, we need to do a good like Saturnian, behaviors, planning, preparing, and doing our calendar, our schedule. But at the same time, we need to also not get too attached to them, because we should know and be reminded all the time. Life will remind us that, hello, whenever we hold on too tight, life has a way of knocking us down and reminding us that, hello, sunshine. You holding on a little bit too tight. So here I was thinking I'm gonna be in Israel for like a few days max, and then bounce and then go back to home. Next thing you know, first day I arrive, it's great, according to plan. I had the chance to like do a few of my fitness classes, and then, which is very important, by the way, because that's also how we stay grounded in the element of earth, which is extremely important. And now, the second day, well, welcome to new reality. This is when it all started with the SMSs, the alarms, you know, right in the middle of war, and the missiles attack, and flying bombs over my head, and all of these things. And honestly, my heart goes to not just the people of Israel, like people all around the world that are in war zones. This is something that you can't fully understand until you really experience it yourself. But at the same time, we shouldn't, as fellow human beings, we shouldn't have to. First of all, this shouldn't be happening, because it's like, why can't we just get along already? Anyways, at the same time, we shouldn't need to experience that in order to have compassion for our fellow humans that are going through these things in life. So we are sending, I just want us to gather our thoughts, our energy, our love, to send some love and some good energy, some healing energy, some protection to all of the people in the world that are in war zones, right? I know right now in the news, it's very breaking news lately. You will hear a lot about Israel, where you hear a lot about, this area. But I feel like the mistake that we make is picking a side. The mistake that we make is turning it into a political debate where, oh, it's US versus Iran, it's X versus Y. We're missing the point. It's not about, it's so much greater than this. It's these are just this is just it, you can see it as a movie with characters, right? You could easily replace the characters by whatever. It's XY. You could replace it with, you know, AB. You could replace it with anything, but it's still the same. It's an issue. It's an issue that actually affects all of us. You know, this is why I think it's very important that we don't slip into, you know, turning it into like a sort of soccer game that you're watching. Oh, which side are you picking? Because it's not about that. It's literally like the war that is happening right now. It's all about a lack of consciousness in humanity, in human nature. It's all comes down to hatred. Why we just can't love one another. We just can't. We seem to have a really hard time to really respect one another, to love one another, and that is what is happening right now. This is just one example of it. Now, I'm not. The goal is not for me to belittle anyone's reality, because let me tell you, it's real. So that's why I wanted us to gather our energy to send great healing and protective energy, not just to like Israel, not just to Iran, not picking one side, but to the entire region. Because again, we are one. We're one soul. I know we don't feel it. It's very hard to feel it because we are part of that human body, but we are literally one. You know what I mean? There is no difference between us. When we die, we'll all go to the same place. And at the same time, I think I read it somewhere, you know, that was a little bit like gory. I don't want to say it. But, you know, let's say you remove the elements that seemingly make us look different from one another, you know, things like race, you know, skin color, hair color, facial features, body, you know, body differences in physical shapes. When we like really remove all of these things, we're all the same. We're literally humans with the same way our body works the same way. Yes, of course, you would find some difference, you know, some slight difference between men, women, etc., etc. But generally speaking, it's the same system. It's literally the same. We all have like a heart. We all have like a head. We all have a soul. We all have, you know, like flesh and skin. We all have the same organs. We're all the same. That's the thing. Yes, we're very different. We look different. We come in different packages, but we're the same. This is why I always like to take the time to remember that, to remind that, because it's such a, I think this is the danger that is just creating further division when we get sucked into, oh, which side are you on? It doesn't, it's not about that. We need to elevate above that. It's not about the side. Again, it's not, I'm not being like, you know, bypassing or whatever, like fancy terms that people are using nowadays. But I just want us to understand that all the sides are suffering. All the sides are suffering. It's all comes down to like, again, hatred. We need to learn, and this is why we all have a say in that. When we go out, you know, when we go about our day to day life, we all have a responsibility asking ourselves, what did I do today to care for my fellow human beings? When we get so caught up in our own little bubble, I know someone might be like, Stephanie, this is a stretch, but it is the same thing. When we get so caught up in our own little bubble, and then we only care about like what is happening in our little world. I only care about like how to pay my bills, my life, my problems, me. And then it's that same selfishness that we're seeing right now on the more global scales. It's all about that, because if we really on a day-to-day life, if we all strive to care for one another a bit more than we do right now, than we do today, and then we start seeing that the other person is not that much different from us, and we all start like injecting a little bit more love, this is how we change the world. This is literally how we change the world. So anyways, I just have so much frustration lately. It's just been a lot of like pent up energy inside of me, to be honest with you. There's a lot of anger, because it's just like when you like in the thick of it, it's so in your face. You and then you start asking all these questions, and then it's just writing all of these emotions, and it's been a very intense 2 weeks for me, I'm not gonna lie. And it's not just for me, it's for many people. And also you might even notice that, I would say for everybody, and you might even notice that time seems to be speeding. No, this is not an You're not going crazy. This is true. I'm gonna make a few episodes about that. I think this is something that is so important that I think we're gonna need more than one episode, but I need to sit down and make my outline. Otherwise, if I jump into this randomly, the episode might be like an hour long. We don't want that. So I need to gather my thoughts and get back with that episode, because I think it's such an important, an important thing to talk about, because people think they're going crazy. No, you're not going crazy. Think time is speeding up. Things are going faster. Cause and effect, which means that when you do something, the result, the consequence is appearing faster than it ever, used to appear before. So it's like the time, the action reaction, the space between these two is just shortening and shortening. For example, we even seeing it on the global scene, on the political level. You see, like, you know, it's like things that would take longer, that would drag on longer, they're happening quicker. So, especially now that we are officially in Aries season, like, honestly, it doesn't even matter when you listen to this. This is just the way we're all progressing. But reminds me that what's on the menu coming up, what's on the schedule coming up. Also, we're going to talk about Aries. Welcome to Aries, which is when I recorded that. But even if you're listening to it afterwards, honestly, it's the message is still there. There's still a message for you. There's no coincidences, like I always like to say all the time. So back on the grounding all of these things instead of talking about grand concepts, right? So yeah, it was hard. It was hard. Literally spent 8 days doing a whole, every time the alarm would set up, I would have to run down in the basement in the bunker. This is not an experience I wish to my even to my worst enemy. It's just like this is not a way of living. And so too many people around the world have been living that way, and too many of us have been desensitized with the pain of others. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So we're talking about, like, I don't know, some days were really like crazy. Like, we'd get like 10 plus, easily can get, some days can get like, close to 10 alarms a day, and then you'd quickly have to run down. I was living on the sixth floor of a building, and yeah, the second you get the alarm, you have 90 seconds to run downstairs to the shelter. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. You start seeing life slowing down and flashing in front of your eyes, like on a whole different level. And it's not a joke. And my heart goes to everyone experiencing this right now. This shouldn't be a way of living. There shouldn't be so much pain and suffering in the world, honestly. And then, long story short, managed to leave. But one thing, well, I say that in a second. So I managed to leave, and I leave and I go home, and then in my where the place I called home has like flying bombs flying in the sky, like what is going on? you know, it's just absolutely ridiculous, and my goodness. And unlike Israel, where they have bomb shelters, there's no bomb shelters where I lived. So it was more like an absolute case of surrender, where you can hear them. You always feel like they're on top of your head exploding, but there's nothing you can do. There's no shelters, there's nowhere to go. And that has been my life for the past 2 weeks. So again, one thing I just want to say is sending so much love and so much, absolute gratitude for the people I was surrounded with. It's absolutely amazing how even during times of war, humans, we can come together. When I was in Israel, I was blessed to be in a beautiful building, in a beautiful community. I don't mean beautiful physically, but I mean the souls that were living in the building. It was a smaller building, only 6th floor. Each floor had like two apartments, so it was a very tight knit, not that many people. Like what, about 12 apartments and 12 flats, condo, however you want to call them. And it's crazy. So a lot of neighbors have never met one another, because again, on the day-to-day life when everything is normal, we're all too caught up into the matrix, into the the things that we do in the matrix, worrying about bills, worrying about life, worrying about this. Okay, so now I'm gonna make a couple of episodes as foundational concepts, because I don't want to keep repeating the same things every day, every time I make a podcast episode. But what I mean by matrix, if that's the first time you're checking in, it's so pretty much the foundation of the spirituality that I use in this podcast is Kabbalah. And in Kabbalah, they tell us, we're reminded that this reality that we're living in this world, in this planet, is only 1% of the true reality. So this reality, where what we call reality, where we focus on our five senses, it's only a tiny little fraction of the true reality. Now, this is 1%. And the 99%, the true reality, is the spiritual realm that we cannot see. It's the metaphysical world. It's the world, it's pretty much what we can't see. And this is also the same idea that was behind the movie The Matrix. And fun fact, the director, I don't know if it's the director or the writer, anyways, the creator, the person who came up with the script in The Matrix, was actually a Kabbalah student. I totally lost my marbles when I found out about that, but it makes sense. So this is why many of my teachers like to call this reality the Matrix, because it's just such a word that, the second someone says matrix, we get it. We get it. It's this fake reality that we're living in, but it feels so real. But again, we cannot. It's a reminder that, fine, we have to rely on our five senses because that's what we got in this physical realm. But at the same time, it's just this reminder, having the consciousness that what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, is not all. Okay. So I just wanted to say that real quick when I'm talking about the matrix and this and that. That is what I'm referring to. So one thing I noticed during my time running for my life down in the bunkers and staying safe from flying bombs and missiles and all that stuff, I realized it was just such a beautiful thing. Of course, it was a sad situation, but it was so absolutely beautiful how us humans, we can come together. And I was getting so emotional. Like, why does it need to be in time of war and in time of extremes like that it happened, that the neighbors met one another? And then I was the observer there, right? As the outsider, I was observing everything. And I was listening to them talk, and so many of them have been living in the building for years, and they've never met one another, or they've never spoken to one another. And here we were, because also there's no signal in the bunker. So guess what? People couldn't be doing that toxic thing that we do nowadays, which is that constant scrolling on our phone. So people couldn't do that. We couldn't do that. We couldn't scroll on our phones because guess what? There were no signal downstairs in the basement, in the shelter, in the bomb shelter. So here we had a case of, I didn't count. I should have counted. I feel like we were probably maybe about 50, 60 people in the bunkers at some time. Sometimes we'll get quote unquote tourist guest. This is pretty much, let's say someone is walking outside, and then they get the alarm, and then they can pretty much enter any building to seek shelter until the alarm passes. So that's how we would get guests sometimes in our bunkers. So I would observe how we were interacting, and everyone was just talking to everyone, helping everyone, just giving water, sharing water. And then you have that lady who totally automatically assumed the role of the leader. Then you have the doorman, another person again assuming the role of the door, being the doorman, opening and closing the door. And then it's just it was just such a beautiful sight, to be honest with you. The situation was terrible, was sad, but it was so beautiful watching the potential that us humans we have to come together to love one another. And then there was all this sharing of snacks, food, and all that stuff, taking care of neighbors' babies and the dogs, and we were all forced to be together through like the sleep deprivation, through hunger, through like tiredness, through frustration and laughing, being sad, exploring, experiencing all these emotions together. It was just such an intense moment, honestly. And yes, the power of community, the power of love. And I'm just hoping that we find a way to get together to love one another more. So this is something that it's like I said earlier, it's all of our responsibility. It's not someone else's problem, right? So we all need to strive when we wake up and ask ourselves, what can we do? How can we reach out to someone? Because and I'm not talking about reaching out to your own little bubble, as in your husband, your family. I'm not counting these things. I'm talking about reaching out outside of your circle. How can you just stretch yourself and be there for someone else? If we all do that, this is how we create the change in the world. And I also wanted to say that life gets tough. That's just what life is, right? We come here, our souls come here, puts on these meat suits, right? These filters that we're carrying, that we're walking around in. Some of us are like, white, black, yellow. I was gonna say purple and yellow. Like, I don't think this is like, I'm not sure that's okay. That's a good thing. That's even like, anyways, you get my point. It's just like it's just absolutely ridiculous. That's what that's the point I'm trying to make here. How we get so caught up in the color thing makes no sense. But anyways, and we all put on those ridiculous suits, they're beautiful, of course they're beautiful, but it just shows you how absolutely we don't realize how much of a we're playing in those costumes. But at the end of the day, we're all souls having a human experience. Like, if that's the first time you're hearing this, just let it sit for a second. We're souls, divine, infinite souls. We cannot even comprehend how infinite our soul is. And we come from the light. We come here because we wanted to manifest things. We wanted to do a lot of things. We wanted to, when we were up there with the light, everything was perfect. Obviously, we were like receiving constantly from the light. Everything was amazing. We were one with the light. And then we wanted to, I'll probably get down to the stories one day, but we wanted to know what it felt like to be manifestors, what it would feel like to be like God, to create things, to manifest things and not just receive. So this is how this world came to be. It's all like a playground for us. And it's not supposed to be so much chaos in that. But because there had to be free will, and then you cannot have free will without having both options of what we call good and bad. But it all is the same thing. It's the same light. It's just that's the system that was established so we could be independent, so we could have free will, so we could make our own decisions, so we could be sovereign in a way, so we could create things, so we could play God, so we could be like, we could come and do all these things. But somehow we get lost in the game. But at the end of the day, we need to try our best to remind ourselves that we are souls having human experience. That way we can detach ourselves and step back a little bit with the physicality of things, because we get really lost about that. And you don't have to believe me, right? If that's what I'm saying right now sounds absolutely like, oh my goodness, she's lost her marbles, this lady. You don't have to believe me. Just keep an open mind and just seek your own truth. But at the same time, I feel like we all know that deep inside, we already know the truth. We're here to remember, where we come from. We're here to remember, to kind of like, it's like, think about it, there's a lot of layers, and we're here unshedding. We're here removing layers, right? but you already hold inside. You already hold inside. And I think this is why we tend to be so uncomfortable with things like death. Like recently I went to my grandmother's funeral, and surprisingly I wasn't expecting to take it that well, but honestly, since I started studying Kabbalah, I started seeing life differently. And for some reason, even in my grandmother's funeral, I didn't really, of course I was sad. I lost my grandmother in this lifetime, in this physical reality. But at the same time, there was that sense of peace that, you know, just knowing that it's not the end. She's just crossing over to the different, to the realm of the 99%, to the realm that we cannot see. But again, the fact that it's the soul that animates the body, right? Think about it. When someone dies, they stop breathing, and it's that the soul leaves the body. And this is what we call death. The same way when a baby is born, the soul enters the body and they take their first breath, and that's what we call life. So this is why we need so this is where the truth is. We know that there's a different reality. We know that we're all just passengers. We're just travelers in this world, in this matrix. We know that. But then the heaviness of the physical world is so heavy that we forget that. We lose our way. But deep inside, we know that already, because God forbid, when you lose a family member, a friend, or a dear one, right? The person, the consciousness, where does it go? Does it just disappear? No, it doesn't disappear. The same way that energy doesn't disappear. Any physics teacher would tell you that energy doesn't disappear. You cannot, you cannot make energy disappear. It doesn't disappear. It just takes a different form. So it's the same way that our soul doesn't disappear, right? So because this is literally our proof that what we're seeing here, it's not all there is. But of course, our brain cannot comprehend the these wild concepts, right? So anyways, I digress. In this episode, this is what happens when I don't come here with my outline. But I wanted to make to check in, because it's been a little while since I have released in since the last time I released an episode. So we are back on track right now. And I wanted to leave with a message that I wanted to leave with a message saying that this is the year of the fire horse. Even if you listen to this past beyond fire horse years, the message is still relevant. That life is gonna try you and me. Life is gonna try us. This is why we come here. Again, our soul doesn't come here in the school of life to chill, to Netflix and chill. We are lazy. We don't like change. We want to Netflix and chill all day long. But I also come here to work, and all of these challenges are the work, it's the training. It's the training ground. So life is gonna get hard. We just need to accept it. The sooner you accept it, but it doesn't have to be that much of a pulling teeth, right? This is why I believe that spirituality is so important. If you don't have spirituality, I'll be honest with you, it's gonna be it's gonna be really hard, really tough to do life. I don't want to be like, I'm not someone who, I really, really, really careful about the words that I choose when I speak, but this is not a nice to have. This is very important to have, because you need to find a way to ground yourself. Over the last 2 weeks, to be honest with you, as hard as it was, if it wasn't for my spirituality, I wouldn't be here today. I don't know how I would have survived any of that. And at the same time, it's a reminder that when life knocks us down, because we're humans, we're not perfect, we lose our way. Even with the spirituality, we lose our way sometimes. And but it's there. If it wasn't for there, then you'd totally be lost. But because we have it, then we can always find our path back. We can always, just stand up, because this is the point of life. Every time life knocks you down, you need to stand up. Every time you fall off the back of the horse, we need to gain strength in order to stand up and mount the horse once again, and keep doing that and vow to never give up. And this is pretty much the fire. If you can survive this year that's coming up, honestly, you can survive anything. You're ready for anything. At the same time, just you cannot do this alone. No, we're not meant to do this alone. Yes, I mean in terms of find your community, find your people, but also find your support system, find your spirituality, connect with that. Connect with the higher power, connect with the creator, connect with the light, whatever terms that you're comfortable with. Now is the time more than ever, because it's just getting started. This is the type of year that we are entering. We've entered already. I can say I need to stop saying entering. And also, this goes way beyond this year. This is literally the new era that we have stepped into, where things are going to speed up quicker. The time frame is going to shorten between action and reaction, between, seeing the consequences of our actions, between seeing the cause and effect. So we need to ground ourselves again. Once again, like I always say in every episode, this is why where I also do believe that it's so important to have your birth chart, because there's so many answers in your birth chart. You wouldn't believe me. Even if you don't do one with me, do one with any good astrologer. To be honest with you, do yourself a favor, and it is your honestly, this is guidance that's there for you. So make sure you get all the guidance you need. I'll leave all the links down below, and at the same time, my love, just I'm sending you so much love, so much love, strength, and absolute certainty beyond logic, that know that you're not doing this life alone, that there is always divine forces that are with you every day. Even if you feel like you are deep in the darkness and you don't see the light, you're not alone. Just always remember that. At the same time, just keep shining bright like a diamond, my love. I will see you in the next episode, and I'm so happy to be back. Take care.